clearly what stands out is a continuation of a very strong interest in how AI, particularly generative AI technologies, will be leveraged to solve the thorniest problems that I think we have in the area of telecommunications, particularly around operational complexity. Of course, it's an open secret that everybody wishes to know how agentic AI in particular is going to impact both in positive ways and unknown ways, let me put it that way. The manner in which we perform operations today, the way in which we operate, observe, monitor, respond to the tasks that are involved in basically running a global scale network.
Randy, what's your view on that? What have you seen at MWC that stuck out to you?
So I think this year, I think MWC, the focus has been on the AI native nature of the future of telecom. And there are three things which stand out. First is in the field of telecom operations, as Kal was mentioning, the conversation is moving from AI assisting telecom operations to AI actually being embedded in the control loop. NOC engineers being replaced by AI agents. So the second aspect is about radio networks, where radio networks not only being spectrum capable, but also being compute capable. And the third point which stood out is the way the telecom supply chain is shifting with the silicon partners. It's playing an increasingly more important role along with the other ecosystem players, and everybody trying to define the roles of the AI native 6G.
One interesting question in everybody's mind on the spectrum side, and the efficiencies that can be realized there is the speed of adoption of 6G. What is both a nascent promise, but let's call it a known unknown is the way I think of it, right? I think we still have work to do in 5G standalone, and the adoption of 5G. And 5G hasn't quite yet delivered on the promises that I think we had all aspired for. So I think we have work to do there. But yeah, I mean, with the advent of, AI, the way we're seeing it develop and the opportunities that exist there's a lot of interest. And we as a company at Nokia are also pulling the thread on AI RAN and, the alternate leverages of compute, particularly GPUs, and how that plays out on the edge. It's a really interesting time to be in the industry right now. The thing that I think there's a lot of focus on, in addition to all of these things, is how do they actually deliver value for the ecosystem at large? Because I think that's a place where we as an industry have had challenges in the past. And I think we need to be cognizant of the technologies that we leverage, take advantage of, actually have closed loop delivery of value back to operators, vendors, and of course partners, like yourselves. I think that opportunity is writ large. It's there.
A lot of that value generation that's expected going forward is built on the promise of autonomous networks and autonomous operations. What would your, recommendations be or insights be around how telcos should focus on trying to build these in this agentic future or agentic world?
I think we should, start our thought process here by, taking a step back and asking, why is it that autonomy there's so much of interest and excitement around it? Because at the end of the day, agentic mechanisms are a means to an end, right? And if we say, okay, for the purpose of this conversation, autonomy is the end, right? The network truly is autonomous. Why? Why is that important? Well, it's because in our industry, one of the greatest detriments to realizing value from the network is its operational complexity. Closing that last mile is incredibly hard when so much of what we do on a day-to-day basis is manually operationally intensive. So that's the goal of autonomy, which is reduce human toil, human error. This has been done very successfully on enterprise networks. Telco-grade networks take that to a different level altogether. And it's not just, the complexity, it's, things like performance, security, throughput, availability. All those things become extremely critical. In an agentic world, to the last part of your question, I think a part of it is understanding where we are now. Because, I would say our learning at Nokia is that while this is a very standards-driven industry, each large operator is unique in some ways. Where they operate, the subscriber population that they serve, the local jurisdictions involved, the local standards, the local laws, all of these things come together. And it doesn't mean that every network is entirely bespoke, but there are unique characteristics in each. And a part of when we are deploying machines, agents in this, to be specific about it, it is important we understand what are those technologies solving for, which gives us the ability to, yes, we wish to remove, where possible, human toil, but entirely removing the human from the loop is a dangerous proposition unless we are certain what are we delegating and how is that working. And then it's being done at machine speed in a much, much more efficient way, but without us feeling like now we're working with black boxes. That would be a dangerous world.
At Infosys, our role is that we solve business problems for our customers, leveraging people, process, and technology. In the world of networks, there are three problems which we are trying to solve. First is that of network optimization. How do we help the operators and the enterprises run their network more efficiently? The next is about network modernization. Networks are moving to a world which is more software defined, getting virtualized, cloudified, more open. And we play a role there. And finally, is that of network monetization. The operators are pouring in a lot of money to build these next generation networks. But it's very important to monetize these assets.
Yeah.
So how can we help the operators in that journey? And in this entire kind of end-to-end blueprint, we are actually partnering with Nokia in developing these solutions. So it's a multidimensional partnership. We engage with them to help them build their products and then deliver, the services to their customers, more efficiently, bring innovation. And then we are working with industry bodies in developing the next generation solutions, like the TM Forum, where we are working on some catalysts with Nokia.
I think one of the ways in which the Nokia and Infosys partnership is valuable and has a multiplier effect on the value is that we complement each other well. To unpack that a little bit, obviously we are a telecommunications technology vendor. And like most technology vendors of any kind, I'm going to say intentionally, our focus is very vertical to the domain in which we operate. And I dare say we understand that world really well and where it's going. At least we try to. The perspective Infosys brings to the table that makes it super valuable for us to do better in partnership with Infosys at Nokia is the horizontal perspective, an understanding of a broader domain. Because no customer is, like an island really, right? There's a 360-degree set of concerns that I think Infosys has lots of rich exposure to: the enterprise, cybersecurity, communications, and the value that it serves in the customer's domain, not just as a technology outcome. And I think the opportunity we have is to, deepen our conversation to understand the customer better. Again, it goes back to having an obsession around, do we understand our customer well enough to know what are they solving for? And how do Infosys and Nokia work together to make that as smooth, easy, and as leading edge as possible?